thousands of years ago, the solid ground beneath your feet just utterly betrays you. Terrifying, right? When we get scared of the unknown, we tend to just make stuff up. Some folks swore there was a giant turtle shifting around in the mud beneath them. Others totally blamed sky gods throwing massive tantrums. Honestly, spinning these dramatic stories was really just how we coped with feeling so helpless in the dark.
But here's the catch with stories. They don't actually warn you when the ground is going to snap again. And people really desperately needed a heads up. So eventually they stopped looking up at the sky gods and just started looking closely at the dirt. They were hunting for actual clues, officially ditching the myths for something real. Which brings us to ancient China and a truly brilliant guy named Zhang Heng. This dude watched the stars, and he had this radical, amazing thought. What if the Earth isn't just random magic? What if it actually follows rules? He desperately wanted to catch this invisible shaking in the act. And you have to see how he actually pulled it off. He built this absolutely gorgeous bronze jar. Just picture 8 metal dragons chilling on the outside and a heavy stick hanging on the inside. A faraway quake shimmies the ground, the stick swings, knocks a metal ball right out of a dragon's mouth, and it clinks loud into a metal frog sitting below. Boom! Humans had officially trapped an earthquake. The crucial part here is what this actually proved. Zhang Heng showed everyone that earthquakes were natural events. The shaking just traveled right across the land, moving outward like ripples in a pond. It was absolute genius. The humans are kind of messy, you know? We forget things. For hundreds of years, this beautiful bronze jar was just forgotten. We wandered right back into the dark, guessing and making up stories, while whole cities just collapsed in seconds. People felt completely helpless again, which sadly peaked in the year 1755 with the sheer tragedy of Lisbon. A massive quake destroyed a huge city in minutes. It was totally devastating, but it completely shifted how people thought. After Lisbon, the thinkers of the world finally snapped out of it. They stopped blaming magic or bad luck, and they got to work. They started studying the broken ground itself, literally drawing maps of the absolute worst damage, just trying to trace it back and pinpoint the exact starting point of the nightmare. And that's where the big breakthrough happens. A guy named Jean-Michel looked at all this ruin and realized the wild truth. Deep, deep down, rocks had actually snapped. And when they broke, that shaking moved outward in waves deep under our feet. This was a massive, game-changing idea. Over in Italy, Luigi Palmieri took this idea and just ran with it. He built this crazy tool using tubes full of liquid metal. When the ground shook, the liquid sloshed around, closed a switch, and literally stopped a clock. So now they knew the exact split second the shaking began. But knowing when it started just wasn't enough. Scientists needed to see the shape of the waves. They needed a picture. But how on earth do you draw an earthquake when you, the paper, the pen, the table, the entire room is shaking violently? So we jump over to Japan. A British guy named John Milne was living there, and Japan gets a ton of quakes. He and his super smart team figured out the ultimate hack, the horizontal pendulum. They hung this incredibly heavy weight on a wire. So when the earth threw a tantrum and the room bounced around, that heavy weight just hovered there, perfectly, completely still. They stuck a tiny pen right onto that perfectly still weight and put a rolling sheet of paper underneath it. As the room shook, the paper moved under the pen, drawing these beautiful, squiggly, wavy lines. This quiet little listener, this seismograph, finally gave us a picture of the invisible shaking. And they started putting these machines everywhere. This is where it's totally wild. A massive quake hits in Japan, and a tiny pen starts wiggling over in England. The solid ground we walk on wasn't solid at all. The whole earth vibrated, transferring that intense energy all the way through to the other side. It completely blew their minds and changed everything we knew about our world. They also noticed the waves had different speeds. The fast ones showed up to the party early, and the slow, heavy ones arrived a bit later. By checking the time delay across 3 different machines, scientists could point right at a map and say, there, that's exactly where the rocks broke. No more guessing. The machines told the truth. Now, Charles Richter wanted to know how beefy these quakes were, because some just rattle your coffee cup, and others literally tear down mountains. So he made this really elegant rating system. Magnitude 3, tiny, no big deal. Magnitude 8, absolute giant monster. And every single jump up that scale means a massive, terrifying leap in raw destructive energy. As these machines leveled up, scientists started seeing a wild pattern.
Earthquakes weren't just happening randomly. They were lining up along these very specific, continuous lines wrapping all the way around the globe, looking exactly like cracks in an eggshell. It made these crazy patterns across the whole world, which proved something completely mind-blowing about the Earth's crust. It's broken into these massive tectonic plates, basically giant interlocking slabs of rock that are constantly, slowly creeping around. But these pieces are rough, right? They bump into each other and get totally stuck. So they're just pushing and pushing for hundreds of years. The pressure building down in the dark is just unreal. And then, finally, the rock just can't take it anymore. It violently breaks and slips. That sudden, violent slip? That's the earthquake releasing all that trapped energy. It's just the Earth shifting its heavy outer crust around. Now, we obviously can't glue the Earth back together, but knowing the cause helped us survive. Instead of building stiff houses that crumble, we learned to build brilliant, flexible structures that actually bend with the ground. And today, oh, it's sci-fi level stuff. We have these tiny, super smart computers sitting perfectly awake right next to those big fault lines. They never sleep, they never blink. They're just sitting there, waiting to feel that initial super fast wave. Because those fast waves don't do the damage, the slow ones do. So the instant the computer feels the fast wave, it fires off a warning message at the speed of light. Your phone buzzes. You get 10 miraculous seconds to hide. And in those 10 seconds, trains automatically slam on the brakes, gas pipes shut themselves down to stop fires, hospitals flip to backup power. This invisible warning automatically protects the city. We even watch from the stars now. Space satellites are up there shooting lasers at the dirt, literally measuring the ground as it slowly bends and bulges. It shows us exactly where the pressure is building up in those danger zones. So, zooming way out, the Earth isn't some angry sky god trying to hurt us. It's just a hot, active planet trying to cool down. The moving plates create our mountains and our oceans. The shaking is just the cost of a living world. We'll never stop the ground from shifting. It's going to keep breaking right under our feet. But we slowly opened our eyes, and we finally learned how to just listen to its deep heartbeat, We took our oldest, darkest fear and flipped it into our greatest tool for survival. Honestly, that is just completely amazing. All right, if you loved wandering down this rabbit hole with me today, do me a massive favor. Smash that like button, share this with someone who loves a good story, and hit subscribe so we can keep exploring the absolute coolest stuff together.